A reasonably serious discussion. A couple of things, though, to take care of. First of all, remember, if you would, Flack is back, which means that Mike is on at night. You like that, Flack? Yeah. Nice rhyme there. Flack is back, Mike's on at night. And all kinds of interesting things going on after the sports huddle at 8 o'clock. I want to talk to you reasonably serious this afternoon. I want to talk to you about something that maybe I talk about too often. I don't know. Something that is a little bit near and dear to my heart. And one of the things that kind of kicked it off today is I thought I heard something that was a little bit flippant this morning. The mid-morning guy got some calls about some cab drivers who were out on strike, and he was being a little bit flippant with it. And, maybe he was serious, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I have no way of knowing, but it sure as hell didn't sound very good. But this was the same guy who, I think it was last week, was almost in tears on the air defending his fellow attorneys and their pro bono work, who didn't really seem to give a damn about a cab driver who had to take a whiz sitting there in 90-degree heat. Such is life. One of the things that causes this type of thing in the state of Florida, as well as in a number of other states where, working stiffs get dumped on, is the fact that we have what is referred to as a set of right-to-work laws. In essence, what a right-to-work law does is to appeal to the greed, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, of the average guy by saying that, hey, you can work in a union shop, but you don't have to join the union. You can get all the benefits of a union shop if there is one, but you don't have to join it. Or put another way, the union will just wither away on the vine because it will receive no income from all of the greedy people who work at the union shop but don't pay union dues because they didn't join the union. It was a brilliant scheme, and it has worked fantastically well in the state of Florida, as well as quite a number of others. There are also a number of other provisions, of course, to the law that makes it very difficult for a union to spring up or to survive. But that is, in essence, what a right-to-work law, such as we have here in the state of Florida, does. We here in the state of Florida, including our beloved governor, are very fond of saying that we're friendly to business. As a matter of fact, a lot of people in the state are very proud of saying that, hey, Florida is very friendly towards business. And I was just kind of wondering, are you? Are these people speaking for you? There really isn't a hell of a lot in the way of a monologue today. I just want to get down to business. I mean, is it possible that you might be a tad more inclined to be friendly toward labor? And that people like the Gov and several other major key figures, like damn near everybody who's elected here, aren't really speaking for you, that you're just a little bit more friendly toward labor than you are toward business. I mean, which do you think has a little greater value? $1 of invested capital or 1 hour of invested labor? And who do you seem to trust a little bit more these days, investors or working stiffs? And do you have any idea at all where your local representatives stand on these issues? What would be a reasonable, a fair Florida minimum wage? And would you like to see one? Just a few of the things I'd like to dance around with you today. But if it must be focused in, let's focus in on, are you proud to say that Florida is pro-business? And is that another way of saying it's anti-labor? See, I don't quite understand that. I would have thought that you should be, pro-business and pro-labor. But we don't say that we're pro-labor. We say we're pro-business. We're very friendly to business. Can you be friendly to business and be friendly to labor at the same time? It doesn't seem to work that way, not around here. Let me give you the telephone numbers, okay? 461-9352, 461-WFLA, that's the number in Pinellas. In Hillsborough, it's 990-9352, 990-WFLA. And I hasten to point out, it ain't going to get no better. This is what we're going to talk about today, come hell or high water. 2 calls, 90 calls, it doesn't make much difference. Because it kind of ticks me off a little bit when I hear guys who are being jerked around in a labor dispute being made fun of because they don't have a place to go to the bathroom. And it kind of ticks me off a little bit when I hear that I live in a state that's pro-business. What in the hell is the matter with being pro-labor? What in the hell is the matter with being very friendly toward labor? 990-9352. I mean, don't look up at the ceiling at that air duct and all the dirt around it. Don't, for goodness sake, whatever you do, do not run over to the cold air intake and look at that filter. Oh, and don't sit around and think about all those colds and the viruses and the flus and that have been circulating around your house or your office this year. Don't think about any of that. Let's just laugh at the concept of indoor pollution. Let's just laugh at the possibility that your air duct, your office, your home is filled with bacteria and fungus and mold and pollen and smoke and dust and all kinds of dirty air. Let's just laugh about that. Let's not take it seriously. Or we could take it seriously. You could pick up your phone and dial 1-800-442-DUST, 1-800-442-DUST. That's the number that will put you in touch with Master Care Maintenance. A couple of things you can do when that happens. First of all, you could ask them to come out and test the air in your home or office. Send the test off to an independent lab. Let them tell you what is circulating in your house. Or you could just say, hey guys, come on out. Let's get this job on the road here. Come out, vacuum out the ducts, install new filters, seal the ducts, and let's get rid of all this gunk that's just circulating round and round and round and round again through my air conditioning and heating ventilation system. 1-800-442-DUST if you take your health seriously. 1-800-442-DUST. One line filled. All of the others unavailable because the people are basically sitting around saying, geez, I don't know if I want to be friendly toward myself or friendly toward some rich guy. I don't know. Well, I'll wait and see what somebody else says, and that might help me make up my mind. Hell, I'm not going to go to the phones with one line lit. Come on. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. I know it's not Willard Scott. I appreciate that. I know it's not Brian Gumbel. It's only you that we're talking about. But, I'll just sit here and wait. What the hell? I got nothing better to do. I get paid nonetheless. So, I fib to you when I say I get paid by the call. I really get paid by the week. Mm-hmm. It's actually annually. Mm-hmm. 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 When are you people going to learn to take me seriously? Beats me. I'll just take care of some paperwork here while we wait for you to rush to your telephones and to take part in the conversation. That's right. Oh, there's another one. That's two now. Up to three. No, that was a crank call. We're back down to two. It's all right. No problem. I have a lot of paperwork to take care of here. Well, we're up to three. Now back 3-4. Now another crank call. Now we're back down to two. Of course, the astonishing thing is that most of those crank calls are probably people who are unemployed. You have, of course, stopped by out there. The guys who were picketing for Eastern have stopped by out there again recently, haven't you, to let them know that you're thinking of them? I didn't think so. Why we have to go through these damn charades with this audience every miserable day is beyond me. It's getting close to a full board. It won't be too much longer. It's one of the more incredible markets I have ever been in. Of course, I'm addressing you people who would never call. But it's one of the more incredible markets I've ever been in because the callers here, they want to see what everybody else thinks before they venture out with an opinion of their own. They're the kind of people that would say things like, oh, geez, oh, God, I don't want to sound stupid. Or, I wouldn't want to be out of step with anybody else.
Yeah. Cranks are pretty busy this afternoon, but there appear to be four on there. We need at least another 4 before we go. Because I'm just tired of playing games. I'm tired of, the same miserable old voices, the nifty 50 in the daytime that seem to fill up the airwaves. Most of whom, of course, have been discouraged from calling me. Unbelievable. Well, now we're up to 5. Couple more. It's basically Hillsborough. Hillsborough's the big problem today. 990-9352, by the way, is the number in Hillsborough, in case you didn't know. 990-WFLA. Oops. Maybe just one more to go here. There we go. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFLA. Hi, Tampa.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I came from a state that was anti-right to work. I came from Missouri 5.5 years ago.
I'm not sure I know what you mean by anti-right to work.
Well, again, it was right to work was posed to the voters of the referendum, and they voted it down.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I believed and still do that it's one of the major travesties of this country. Granted, you may be able to live a tad cheaper down here because you don't have all the $300 a month gas bills. But that's the only thing you don't have.
Well, it depends on how well the old respiratory system is working, because a lot of people have $300 a month electric bills year-round with heating and air conditioning.
But you follow what I'm... you can have $300 a month electric bills and gas bills up there if you've got a big enough house.
Well, I do down here anyway, but that's okay.
Anyway, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think is meant? I mean, this Florida is part of America. The last time I checked,
yeah.
America, of course, is a
Sometimes I wonder.
America, of course, is a capitalistic country. So, what do you think the Gov or anybody else is saying when they say that, hey, we're very friendly towards business here? Because I thought, that's what America was all about anyway. So why should you have to tell business that you're friendly towards them?
As far as I'm concerned, or at least the way I learned it in school was that you couldn't have business without the workers. How are you going to have is the business going to be the building that sits there with a product and says it's business without someone to promote it, to produce it, to manufacture it, to do whatever? You've got to have the labor in order to have the business.
I think we have the labor. It's just that nobody seems to be speaking for labor. And is it fair
in
the state of Florida, where the people pay the taxes, to use workers' money to encourage business to come here and dump on workers? Does that seem reasonable?
No.
Well, okay.
I don't like it.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. 22 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. One line available now. It's in Hillsborough, 990-9352. Now, all of you other people out there who didn't want to take part in the conversation when we started until somebody else had their say, now you see you've got someone else's words to parrot for you. Oh, unreal. I think I'll just run until 40 with this, if that's okay with you. No problem? Okay. Want to get this thing going here. Off it is to Largo. Hi, Larg. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello.
Hi.
You posed a very interesting question.
I thought so.
I'd like to...
Took you about 10 minutes to get to the phone, though.
Well, no, not actually. Anyway, I know which side I'm for. I feel more on the side of the executives and the masterminds of the corporations than these workers. I don't feel any sympathy whatsoever because they don't have the intelligence or the
How come you don't have a job?
Work. What's that?
Why don't you have a job?
Well, I don't need to work.
Oh, you're independently wealthy.
Well, no, I wouldn't go as far as wealthy, but I'm well off. I don't need to work, but I'm stating my point. Would you let me please?
You have a lot of investments and things of that nature?
I've never gotten into that type thing.
Well, then how do you live?
Please,
I'm just curious. I mean, you say you're on the side of the big business executives and so forth and so on, but you're available morning, noon, and night to call talk radio.
Well, that's true.
So a lot of us, even Flack this afternoon was saying,
how is that possible? Well, I told you on one program.
The calls up from Largo. How do you think, Lassiter, that he earns his living?
Well, I told you once before. I guess you didn't remember. I told you I'm a professional mooch.
A professional mooch. Oh.
Right. I thought I explained that to you before.
Well, maybe you did. It's just that your calls are so, unrememberable.
Oh, well,
okay.
Well, that's all right. Could I finish the statement? This is irrelevant to you. You posed a question. Now you've got a very intelligent caller here.
Did you say that what you're about to say is irrelevant to the topic?
Well, what you're talking about,
you said.
My personal life has nothing to do.
That's what he said.
Well, anyway, the poor people, there's always going to be poor.
Personal life. How could your personal life possibly be of any interest to us? All you do is sit home and listen to talk radio.
You're a disgusting human yourself. So who are you to put me down? Who are you to put me down when you weigh over 300 pounds? That's
I weigh over 300 pounds. I weigh close to 300 pounds.
Well, that's disgusting. I think if I got that bad,
I looked in a mirror.
I'd say I'd give up food. I'd give up food if I looked at your personal appearance.
And he's svelte.
What?
Because he's taller. Svelte.
Well, I can't understand that.
That's a Swedish word for thin.
Thin?
Yeah.
What's wrong with... there's nothing wrong with thin or regular weight, but you're morbidly obese. You're in a class of society.
Are you going to stick to the topic or not?
Okay, sure. I'm saying the poor. There's always going to be poor, and there's always going to be rich. And if you want to come on the air and try to promote being a good guy to the poor people, I guess that's what you like to do. But I'll tell you right now, poverty sucks. And maybe you've been there, maybe you haven't.
Well, you know something about poverty?
Well, I've been there before, sure. I was in the past. I have been.
In the past, you have.
Have you ever been in poverty?
Oh, I sure have. But
okay.
I'm not ashamed to talk about it.
Would you agree with that statement then? Would you agree that poverty sucks?
Well, sometimes wealth sucks too.
Oh, that's not true.
Oh, sure it is. Sometimes it can just absolutely obsess you. It can take over your life completely to the point where you can do nothing but take care of your wealth. So
I'm not gonna,
unless you sit home listening to the talk radio, fantasizing about being wealthy, then maybe wealth would look like
put on the airs and act like being poor is good or trying to stick up. You got to have the workers. And you got to have the lower class society to feed the wealthy people.
Well, there's
and
some
if you're
lower classes around here, that's for sure.
to make it climb the ladder to be one of those wealthy, then that's good for you.
We'll talk of them in Largo.
It's like, now you're trying to talk over my voice and make little clever
trying
statements.
to. I'm succeeding at it.
Why don't you try putting down that cupcake on your stand there and concentrate on the subject at hand? I know it's pretty hard when all you got is food on your mind.
No, I don't have any food here. I rarely eat before my show.
It must be all you... Have you ever looked in the mirror, pal, and said, damn, I think I ought to cut back a little bit or something?
I certainly have, that's for sure.
Well, then don't try to put me down when I call. I made a very intelligent statement.
Sir, I don't try to put you down. I succeed at putting you down.
I make a very intelligent statement, which you cannot disagree with.
Why don't you save them for when you call up here if you make intelligent statements?
What? I didn't hear you.
I said, why don't you save some of those intelligent statements for when you call up here?
I always make intelligent statements.
Well, then, like I said, why don't you save them for when you call the radio station?
Well, I do.
Here?
That's all I do. And because I don't stand up for these poor people. If that's where they want to be, that's where they are. If they want to move up the ladder, they can. There's opportunities out there in America.
Sir?
There are opportunities.
Sir, I don't recall saying anything at all about poor people. I was talking about working people.
Working class, those are poor people.
Well, sir...
And I don't like manual labor. Manual labor's for mindless slobs.
Sir, I didn't say anything about manual labor. I consider myself a working class person.
Yeah. You do a lot of work. What does it take to pick up the TV dinner and put it in the oven there?
Sir,
is that your daily lifting?
Sir, the kind of money I earn, I do not eat TV dinners. I want you to know that.
Oh, you don't?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, well, you got me on that one. But I'll tell you something. Well, what do? You call it what you do, actual work, sitting down?
I didn't say it was work, sir. I said I considered myself part of the working class.
Part of the working class, which means you associate you with other people that go out and dig ditches. And,
no, sir, what it means is I have a much closer affinity with people who dig ditches than I do with people who run corporations.
Sure, it's nice philosophy to say that on the radio, because then you could get a lot of these people to join up all these things that you promote on the air. If you said anything derogatory like what I'm saying, then I'm sure they wouldn't go out to your car wash or to your smoking clinic or to your water treatment or whatever, because they'd turn you off or they wouldn't listen to you. So you got to do this as an act. Hey, I understand. It's all right to do that.
And
I'll speak my mind because I don't give a damn. I'll tell you once again, poverty sucks. And the working class people, if they're not intelligent enough to move up the ladder, then that's where they belong.
And probably very soon we will have on an eye care center and.
Well, great, good for you. Now start speaking like I will, and like tell the truth like you really believe. You can't do that though. You got lots of money, Bob, and you believe.
No, sir, I do not have a lot of money. I earn a lot of money. I do not have a lot. I've saved virtually none of it, sir.
So if you're at a dinner restaurant and let's say a nice man in a suit comes up to you and he's a lawyer or something, he says, "Hello, Mr. Lassiter," and then you got this guy that just got done driving the city bus or whatever. He's a worker on a bus, and he comes up and says, Mr. Lassiter, I'm sure the type of person you are, you're more willing to talk to the lawyer than you are the common working man.
No, sir. I'd probably try to run from both of them. I'm very, very shy.
Oh, you're talking about a rich executive you would not speak with. One of these nice hobnobby lawyer-type executives, huh?
No, sir. I'm a very shy man. I would probably try to run from both of them.
Okay, that's it. That sounds real nice over here.
My shyness has nothing to do with the net worth of people who come into contact with me.
It sounds real nice for you to say that over there. I'll just say that right there, because you cannot say anything other than what you're saying for your own reasons.
I hear
whatever.
a small child in the background. Do you get aid for dependent children now?
What's that?
I thought it sounds to me like I hear a small child in the background. Is that correct?
No, there's well, not at the moment. I don't live in
I know you don't live. You just dream. Dunedin, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Dun.
Boy, that's a tough act to follow.
Not at all, sir.
I tell you what, I'm one of these poor working class people that the young man was talking before me. And my wife and excuse me, both of us work. And I tell you what, it takes each one of us, both of us, to work. And she works in a factory, and I drive a truck. I work for one of the bigger trucking companies here in Pinellas County, and this company I work for has I would say about 60 trucks, and all of them trucks stay busy every hour of the day. And in the meantime, this nice man of ours is paying us $5 an hour, and no insurance, and not benefit one, and maybe a $20 Christmas bonus, And he thinks that he's doing us every favor in the world. On the other hand, my wife, she works in a factory. She's been there 8 years. She's now a supervisor, and just now making a little bit over $7 an hour. And in the meantime, both these people that we are working for are just cleaning up left and right. In the meantime, where would they be without the poor working slob out there doing the job for them?
Well, you can answer that question as well as I can. What just fascinates the hell out of me is why the elite and the leaders and the elected leaders in this state are so proud to say that, they are pro-business. Now, what does that mean? I mean, I thought, like I said a little while ago, I thought we lived in America, which means we are business-oriented. But I should think that a state would be far more proud to say we're pro-labor. They would be to say we're pro-business. Hell, we're all laborers. There's only a handful of people in this state that aren't laborers.
That's right. There's a whole bunch of Indians and very few chiefs, but in the meantime, the chiefs are raking it in while the Indians are cleaning up the pot, if you know what I mean. And I just wanted to call and add my 2 cents, Bob. It's the first time I've called. Usually I'm out driving. I'm home early today. And I do like listening to the show, so keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Off it is now to St. Petersburg. Saints, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon.
I think during your monologue, real quickly, you brushed on your the decent living wage again. My opinion on that is I feel that it should be set up to where there is enough money for the person to have a decent home, whether it be a house or apartment, enough money for food, clothing, and such, all the necessities of life.
How much do you think that is?
What I feel, it's hard to tell. I think it should be based on the area. Like each county, you find out, you go and you survey. I know this is going to take years and years to do such, and by the time it actually comes out, it's, obsolete. But it should be county by county throughout the country, because granted, it's probably cheaper to live in, in Pinellas County than it would be down Dade County where, with Miami and such in Broward County. So that's why it should be county to county.
Well, how much do you think it would be around here then? What do you think would be reasonable around here?
An hourly wage, you would figure rent for a decent apartment for a family, we'll say 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment would be like $400 a month. Food for the family would say $250 a month. That's $650 a month. And then you would want to have a savings incentive too. And I would say... Oh,
you mean so that you could save for a rainy day so that you wouldn't be a burden on those wealthy people?
No, I wouldn't say
like
a burden.
Guys who pay you $5 an hour to drive their trucks.
No, I don't want to say a burden. I mean, so you can save and move up yourself.
That's exactly what I'm saying, so that you could save, so that you wouldn't become a burden at some point later in life, if you weren't able to move up.
Well, that would be my own personal opinion. I wouldn't want to say that to someone else that they would become a burden. But my personal opinion is I wouldn't want to be, to have to take money off the side, because I am a proud person and I would not want to do that. I feel that for a family, we'll say of 3, a husband, wife, and one child, approximately maybe between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. And that's just the husband working, or I would like to see it to where they could make that amount and the wife stay home with the child if she wants to raise the child. Because I feel that's why, getting off to a totally different subject, why children are starting to deteriorate sooner, because both mom and dad have to work full-time jobs and the kids are off at the sitter or out at daycare and that, and there's not really the family environment there used to be, 20 years ago.
Might just have something to do with it,
Pardon me?
Might just have something to do with it.
I feel it does. And talking about companies and pro-business and pro-labor and all that, I watched a special, it's like a 60 Minutes type of thing about a year or so ago about Food Lion. And the way that they run their company, it's everyone from the executives all the way down to the bag boy is out to make the money for the company. If they make the money for the company, they make it for themselves. And they reinvest through the company and for the employees throughout, from top to bottom. And I think if a lot more companies would structure themselves like that, they would make the money that Food Lion is. Because I just watch and I'm seeing their commercials, what they do. It makes perfect business sense. And you look at all these other companies that they go and they blow money left and right for this and that. And
I don't know that it makes perfect business sense. It just makes perfect sense. Period.
Right.
Thank you, my young friend.
You have a good day.
You too. Off it is now to, let's see here, Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
That clown from Largo, first of all, I don't believe him for a second. He sounds like a liar
He's a
to
great
me.
caller. He got the board full.
Pardon?
I said I don't believe him for a moment either, but he's a great caller. He got the board full.
All right. 7 times he alluded to his so-called intelligence, and yet he allowed himself to be baited into a senseless argument with you.
He calls almost every day. Come on, he's a great caller.
Well, right, great caller, but he's a liar, and if he's...
He ought to be on the payroll.
I mean, he does great things for your show. I'm I don't know how he worded it, a miserable working slob. I do electrical work, and I would put my brain up against his so-called great intelligence any day.
Come on now. Come on now. It's not fair to pick on the feeble.
Well, anyway, Florida's a right to work for less state. No matter what the politicians or what the so-called anti-labor people want to call it, it's right to work for less. That's all it boils down to. Business will get the people to work for as little as they can, always.
I want to know at what point did working people become the enemy? And I want to know at what point did the state decide that it had to help business against this terrible enemy? In other words, the citizens of the state of Florida.
Well, who gives the contributions to the campaign?
Well, a lot of people.
Basically business.
Perhaps.
It's a lot harder to get a bunch of poor, unintelligent so-called working people together to give money, basically because there's no organization around here. You say unions and everybody thinks you're linked up with mafia or something. And so everybody's out here, their own little, each individual entity, griping about making no money, and yet they're too silly or stupid or whatever to organize or have a voice. And so the only groups just about with any clout are big business because they've got this extra slush fund. They can buy off all the politicians. So, if you want to get elected, you've got to be pro-business if you want to get the votes and get the money.
Well, that all depends. If the people, if the workers, God, I hate that word. It sounds like some kind of 1930s communist word. But if the people, those people who go out and earn their living, those people who go out and work every day and pay their bills, would get together in any type of loose coalition, they would have far, far more power than any business organization.
Call it what you like. Call it an association. Call it the AMA. Call it the bar. Call it the Tampa Board of Realtors. There are some unions. They're not called unions. They think it's a bad word. But the basic worker out there, I mean, if you don't, the $5 an hour truck driver, if you don't like making $5 an hour, all you have to do is organize, and you can negotiate as a group. Quit complaining if you're not going to do anything about it. Just, to gripe and moan and go and complain and then say, well, I'd never belong to a union. That's not for me. Well, then quit your griping and drive your truck and be happy.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch for a large portion of central Florida. It will be in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. Now, a watch means the conditions are right for the formation of tornadoes as strong thunderstorms develop over the area. In the Tampa Bay area, the watch includes Sarasota, Highlands, Manatee, Pasco, DeSoto, Hillsborough, Hardee, Pinellas, Polk, and Charlotte counties. Again, that tornado watch is in effect until 9 o'clock tonight.
Okay, so you have this condo, and just for the sake of argument, let's say that that's all you own except for a TV set, or do with you or against you.
So let's say you have a very dear friend.
Tribune. Well, there's an article about a plan to revamp Florida's prison system and I want to pull weeds, anything but dig this hole. So we're having a backhoe come in and complete the job. I was able to convince her that this was bigger than the both of us.
Take your tomorrow and give me today. All your tomorrows, they're too far away. I find each morning I've been waiting in vain. I find each dawning brings on what tomorrow may bring. Don't mean a thing. Take your tomorrow and give me the day. I find each morning I've been waiting in vain. I find each dawning brings only pain. How can I borrow today? The clouds around me so heavy and gray. But what tomorrow may bring don't mean a thing. Take your tomorrow and give me today.
Positively no cigar, pipe, or chewing tobacco use allowed, please. Cigarette smokers must provide own ash receptacle. No firearms or explosive devices, please. Flash cameras permitted only after the performance. All admissions granted under the auspices of the Bob Lassiter Show. Bob Lassiter, host and official screener. Have fun, and we'll see you on a future Friday Bob Lassiter Show. And now, back to Bob.
We're down 3:43 the time. There are an awful lot of mortgage brokers and mortgage companies around, and sometimes they use various little stunts to catch your attention. Things like, putting together a television commercial with a guy sitting in his favorite chair with a roof comes caving in. Others hire washed-up ball players. Others, it's all women in half and boxes. And others, like Town and Country, just give you the facts. Straight and plain. Go to Town and Country, and there is no credit criteria. Good, bad, go to Town and Country, and you'll get a loan for any worthwhile purpose. No upfront fees. Approval time, 24 to 48 hours in most cases. Town and Country Mortgage and Investment Corporation. Not a terribly catchy commercial, maybe, but just the truth. First and second mortgages, low rates, fast service, terms to fit your needs. They even buy mortgages throughout the entire country. Town and Country Mortgage and Investment Corporation. If you have any kind of a mortgage need or a mortgage problem, please get in touch with Town and Country Mortgage and Investment Corporation. Licensed mortgage brokers. 264-2648. They are located at 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway. Off it is now to St. Petersburg. Hi, St. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob Lassiter?
Yes, sir.
First-time caller.
Great.
I'm a businessman, and I'm a small businessman, and I've been listening to your program. I never picked up on any of these talk shows before. But it seems to me that the problem of the working man, and I'm a working man too, is that they should learn a little bit more. They should force themselves beyond just the 8-hour day and study or get knowledge. I think knowledge has a lot of power. And if you're talking about...
Sir, we can't all be atomic scientists.
No, you don't have to be an atomic...
There was a time in this country when you could sweep floors and still buy a house and send a kid to school.
Yeah, I know. My old man, he made $8 a week. And he bought a house and raised a family of 4 of us. I don't understand the more money people get, the less they're able to afford, you know. But I think...
well, we've got to come back to a time when a guy can go out and sweep floors or drive a cab or do whatever it is and still buy a house and send a kid to school.
I agree with you. I think if it wasn't for the hogs of the earth, there'd be enough to go around for everybody, but I don't know what to do about that. But I think the large super corporations are really sort of swallowing everybody up and turning them into kind of slaves. And they've taken over on all this technology bit.
Well, you and I can stop that if we want to.
I really don't know how unless you make a law. It's against the law to have a business. If you legislate the businesses out of the state of Florida, then what do the people who work for a living do?
Well, we used to have a
catch-22.
Well, we used to have a concept in this nation where it was okay for companies to merge, but there had to be a damned good reason, not just so that people could make a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it's all as long as it's all legal, then you're going to have to change the people who are making the laws.
Well, there also used to be a time in this country where elected officials served primarily the people who put them there rather than big business interests. And I'm not anti-big business. I'm not anti-money. I just don't understand why states and federal governments seem to so favor one side over the other when, damn it, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but I really don't know what to do about it, and I don't think you can legislate it one way or the other unless you put a limit on how far a company can grow so there's room for other people to come in.
I don't think you have to limit how far a country can grow at all, but what I do think that, you have to do is start paying attention to what's going on, start listening very closely to what people say, and if you've got some guy trying to get elected who has notorious connections with big business and get government off my back, not yours, mine, when you got a guy like that running around saying, hey, I'm for the Pledge of Allegiance, I don't think my opponent is,
Right.
That should be kind of a red flag.
Well, what about PAC committees and all these people that buy this influence? Legislators are supposed to be incorruptible, theoretically.
I have no problem with PAC, sir. Let's start one, you and I, for the benefit of you and I.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Just because the average people don't have their own PACs does not mean that people who do should lose them.
People, if they could control the government based upon the principles of the government, but they don't know enough about the government or the principles of the government to actually focus on exactly what they want to accomplish.
Well, we all ought to know, maybe we don't know a great deal about big government, but we should know that it's becoming harder and harder to buy a house. We should know that it's becoming harder and harder to send kids to school. And it should only be common sense that we should pay a little bit more attention to the people who control our lives.
Well, the people themselves are the ones that control their lives, but they just can't get organized on it. Each one of them individually is a component part of the Caesar that exists in this country, and I don't think their awareness hasn't been heightened to that point that they do have that kind of a situation going for them.
But it's just all common sense. It's not all that complicated. It's just common sense. You just sit down and you think about what people are saying. Does that make any sense?
No, but it still has to go by some legal expression because that's the name of the game.
We had in the office of the presidency a few months ago a really nice guy in his late 70s, put rouge on his cheeks, slicked his hair back with brown kiwi polish, and was always saying, God bless you, God bless you. Well, this guy used to say things like, hey, there's nothing wrong with foreign investment. He was talking about when a lot of foreign money would come in and buy an existing American company. Now, there is nothing wrong if a lot of foreign money came into this country and started a business from scratch. If they'd poured $4 or $5 or $20 billion into this country, starting a business from scratch, that would be fantastic. But when you come in and you buy an existing company, or in other words, put it another way, speculate in a stock of an existing American company, that's not foreign investment. That's foreign speculation. Now, it shouldn't be that hard for the average guy to sit down and see the difference between the two, should it?
No, but the statement in America is that the business of America is business. It's not concerned with...
It sure is, and it better stay that way, but business and speculation are not one and the same.
Well, whenever money exchanges hands, that's business, and...
Well, I beg your pardon. When two people are, when you go to the horse track and you're betting on an animal running round and round and round in a circle, that's not business, that's speculation.
Well, now you're
just
talking
as much speculation when you go to the stock market and do the same damn thing on existing paper.
Now you're talking about values. Take the Eastern Airlines. Anybody in the union at Eastern Airlines, if they were put in the same catbird position as this Lorenzo, would do what Lorenzo done. That's just the values of the system.
I'm not sure that they would. You know, that's speculation.
Well,
I'd like to hope that they wouldn't.
Well, I hope that they wouldn't too, but I've never run into anybody who doesn't usually end up becoming exactly what they hate if they get the opportunity.
Very astute statement. I thank you much for it, and I think it's a great place for me to move. Well, to say that it's the same or a little higher or a little lower, but I know in essence where you're coming from.
Yeah. I know. Well, I mentioned that I now work in retail, and I can't complain. I'm doing better than most people in retail. But one day we were discussing our days off and vacation time, and I said the reason you only have 4 holidays per year here is you don't have union. I said in New York you generally get 8 or 10 holidays wherever you work. A minimum of 8, you get your 8 federal holidays, and that's how things go there. And these people, they looked at, I said the word union, and it was like I had said something sacrilegious. And here, this is just the working people. I didn't say that in front of any managers, and everybody turned their head, and it was like the Gestapo was looking out.
Oh, there's been an incredible sales job done on the average person to make all unions seem horrible and bad and vile and corrupt and tied in with a mafia and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the truth of the matter is, you're probably a hell of a lot more likely dealing with a mafia at a bank than you are at a labor union.
Right. I remember somebody saying to me when I said union, they said, but you have to pay union dues. You know, they take money out of your wages. And I said, you may pay anywhere from $3 to $10 per week of your wages to earn $3 more per hour.
Or at least to have a little bit of security. Maybe you won't make $3 an hour more.
You won't get fired for being late once. Or for calling in sick and not having a doctor's note. Here, if you're sick 3 days, you may earn a total of $45 or $50 per day if you're doing really well.
A doctor's note.
Yeah, you must. I could see if it's repetitious or if it's an ongoing thing. Certainly you would then take some kind of disciplinary action if that's what it takes. That's
well, exactly. If you're out all the time, there's no damn union that's going to save your butt if you're out constantly.
And if you happen to be legitimately sick with a strep throat, you're out 4 or 5 days, and you can't phone. And if you happen to be making $3.35 an hour, I don't know how anybody can afford a car and a telephone, which a telephone basically costs you $16 just for installation.
But here's the great part. You probably won't have to join a union. You probably won't have to pay any union dues to get the exact same kind of consideration in a state where workers have the right to unionize.
That's right. Here, if you mention it, you risk losing your job for just thinking union.
You know, I don't know how many times, I've said this once or twice before on my program, I don't know how many times I've run into people, workers, factory workers, blue-collar type of workers, or lower-level white-collar type of workers who speak with such pride. I work for Eastman Kodak. I work for General Motors. I work for... The list is almost endless, and virtually without fail, they are unionized companies. But they have pride in the companies that they work for. They've been there forever. They're planning on being there forever, and they love the companies. How many times do you hear people say, I work for Amalgamated Lockjaw, and I'm really thrilled about it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, they're terrified.
There's another thing. I checked up on something because I was debating leaving Florida, and I know my wife was just getting laid off from her job, and we thought it might be a great time now to get out of here while we still have some money left, and we haven't spent all of our savings yet. And I called the department, I guess it was the employment office in Clearwater, and they told me that I have no rights to any pay that's like...
Anywhere, unless you have a contractual agreement, that's...
Well, in some states you are entitled to that money by state law. If you're...
I'm not so sure about that. I don't see how anybody can be compelled to give you money that you didn't earn.
Well, you've earned... If you've acquired 2 weeks' pay, or let me say it's not by law, it's just... and it's not contractual, it's just a basic... a folkway.
Well, now,
or
wait a second. Wait a second. The more I sit here and think about it, you're probably right. If you were told when you went to work there that that's part of the compensation, then you are due it.
Right. For instance, I received a piece of paper that said I was due 70-plus hours vacation pay.
Okay, well, that's a different story. That is
definitely
part of your compensation.
But my supervisor, who left a few months back, he was due 2 weeks vacation pay, put in his 2 weeks notice, and never received payment for the vacation he earned in the previous year.
Gee, I guess that's what they mean by, friendly towards business. My friend, at this point, I do have to run.
Okay.
But I'm good.
Another thing is,
I'm sorry, I really do have to run.
Oh,
Take care. I mean, geez, I really hate being so rude to the caller, but man, if you are late for McHenry, it is not worth the grief and aggravation. I would probably hang up on Mother Teresa when it came time to go to Gary McHenry with us, Airborne WFLA Dangerous Traffic Report.
That's because you know that now I am one of probably two people at the entire radio station.
The lift of the sink and lighting it. I'm sitting there on the side of the bathtub, smoking it, not knowing why. God, it was awful. I remember very well a few years later buying cigarettes out of vending machines and hanging around the front of Dahl's cigar store on Haddon Avenue in Collingswood, and then trying to get rid of the smell of smoke when it came time to go home that evening. Don't know why. Don't remember them tasting good. I just remember feeling kind of hip and cool about it. I remember as the years went by, the cough that started to come with the cigarettes that I certainly didn't enjoy. And I can tell you, I somehow did acquire a taste for the damn things, at least at certain times, and probably, upwards of 10 cigarettes a day, 10 out of between 30 to 50. Tasted kind of good, but the others didn't. I remember as the years went by becoming aware of the health hazards with cigarettes and saying things like, one of these days, oh boy, one of these days I gotta, maybe I'll do it when I turn 30. Maybe I'll do it when I turn 35. Maybe I'll do it when I turn 40. And then first thing I knew, I was 43 years old. I remember all of those things, and I remember the night that I walked into Dr. Robert Sobel's office at the Stop Smoking Center in Clearwater for my first of 2 sessions, 1 week apart. I went in with a little bit of skepticism. I came out the second week a non-smoker. 787-5530, if that sounds like your story. 787-5530. $37.50 is the total cost. 2 one-hour sessions, 1 week apart. I'll never forget the night that I walked out. Back to the phones we go. Indian Rock. Hi, Indian. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine, thank you.
Hey, this is a subject that really tears me up because I'm 26 years old, and I'm a Republican, and I consider myself conservative. But when it comes to organized labor and a decent wage, hell, especially here in the state of Florida, that's where I just have to draw the line.
Well, why is that, sir?
Look,
matter of fact, organized labor has supported Republican candidates for a number of years.
Yes, they have, so much so. And there's, I'm a Republican, but I don't agree with it so much because, see, I'm part of a new generation of Americans that is, when I got out of high school, I realized that, hey, the high school diploma isn't going to get me a decent job and a decent money. So I went to college. And now I've been out for 3 years, and truthfully, the college diploma hasn't gotten me a decent job and a decent money.
No, sir, the only thing that's going to get you a decent job and decent money are basically things that you can't be taught.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth, and at times, I sit back and, I'm in the printing business, and I know that if I went out and I tried to organize anything at all, I'd lose my job, and anywhere within a 100-mile radius, my name would be dirt in the field, and I wouldn't get a job anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets me is, to sit back and see, people, we want to help you, we want to help you, but, when I get fired, who's going to pay my rent? Who's going to pay for my truck payment? Everybody says, yeah, we'll back you, but when it actually comes to doing it, nobody wants to help me, and, where am I supposed to go from there? And it's, as a 26-year-old, and I enjoy working for the company that I work for. I have pride in the company that I'm working for, and I enjoy it, and I'm not labor, but I just don't know where the money's going to come from. I see that they have it. They definitely have it. I make as much money for them in a day as a lawyer makes for most corporations, but...
Well, you see, the fact of the matter is that most businesses are not labor-intensive in terms of their costs. Most businesses, their costs are in materials or in capital, massive capital outlays, buildings, machines, that type of thing, and labor accounts for a relatively small percentage of the actual cost of manufacturing. So consequently, most firms could give a raise, a substantial raise to their workers, especially those on the lower end, without having to increase costs of the product very much.
They could do it definitely on my end. And on my end, I work for a company that also doesn't sell just printing; it sells other products. And my end makes as much as the other does. But I have employees that, because I'm somewhat a production supervisor where and I have employees that only last 6-7 months because I'm only paying them $5 an hour.
And let me finish the thought on that. And the thought is that when you know that, when you see that, when you understand that, then you're left with no other conclusion that it's not a matter of economics; it's a matter of class.
Yeah,
and that there are certain people in this country that just do not want working people to get an even break.
Exactly.
I know of no other explanation.
But what is someone who's young and, I bust my butt daily for this company. And, when I sit back and I ask for them, well, why don't you give me something back? And they sit back and, well, we got to worry about this cost and that cost. What am I supposed to do? I can't sit back and say, well, see ya, because I need the money. I can't walk out on a job. At times it gets so frustrating to sit back with the money that I'm making. Thank God I'm single. If I had a wife and a kid.
But remember, the ability to change it is in your hands and within your power. You just must look out after yourself and your neighbor's best interest. The power's in your hands. My friend, I've got to run.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Don Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. Don?
A tornado watch in effect for West Central Florida till 9 tonight. So far, no reports of any severe weather.
Special place to have dinner, and there are an awful lot of restaurants in the Tampa Bay area. You know that as well as I do. But there are very few of them that are really special. And of those places, it seems that more often than not, they treat you like they're doing you a favor. Calb's Cove is not that way. Calb's Cove is a very special restaurant. A special restaurant providing intimate tableside service, candlelight, piano bar, right there along the dock on the Intercoastal in Madeira Beach. A very special restaurant with very special food, very special service. So the next time you have a special need, like, I don't know, maybe tonight or tomorrow night, Calb's Cove. Let me give you the address, please. You can do no finer. You can do no better than Calb's Cove. 13155 Gulf Boulevard. 13155 Gulf Boulevard in Madeira Beach. Their telephone number is 393-3448. 393-3448. For tableside service, flambe desserts, quality service, it's Calb's Cove. Okay. Back to the phone. Bradenton. Hi there, Bradenton. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, sir.
My name is Steve, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree with some of the views that you have on organized labor, right to work, and that sort of thing. I think at one time there were good reasons to have unions. You had children working, you had people working very long hours, you had very unsafe conditions.
Sir, I don't know that I've called for unions. I believe all I've called for is for the ability to people to form them if they so want.
Oh, I don't think we have a problem with that in Florida, really, do we?
Yes, sir, we do. We got a real serious problem with it in Florida.
Not
this
statutorily.
Is a right to work state, sir.
Well, and I don't have a problem with that. I think what that statute is saying, and I don't have it in front of me, but what that statute is saying is that one can work a job without being forced into a union or being denied employment because they don't belong to one.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not have one problem with that. I'm I guess you call me liberal Democrat, whatever you want to say about that. But I see that as a freedom of choice.
Sir, why do you think it is that the wages are so much lower in the state of Florida? You think that's just a coincidence?
No,
only for workers, by the way, not for executives.
I think there's very good reasons for that, and it goes to the free market concept.
The free market. Oh, so in other words, if business can band together in an organized fashion to hold wages down, but workers are not encouraged or in many cases even permitted to band together to drive wages up.
I think if the businesses were ever actually shown to have banded together, you'd have real problems with the antitrust laws.
Well, no, sir, I don't think you would, because they do band together. Have you ever heard of the Chamber of Commerce or the Lions or the various different business clubs?
Mainly of a social atmosphere.
Sure, sir, of course, mainly of a social atmosphere. That's why almost all of their checks end up being submitted to the Internal Revenue Service's business expenses.
Well, if I could address one other point, then I think I can explain to you why the wages are a little bit lower in Florida than anywhere else in the world.
Not a little bit lower, sir. They are significantly lower.
Has it ever occurred to you that maybe that's where they belong?
Maybe that's where they belong. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Well,
I see. So an investor's dollar is worth more than a laborer's hour.
I'm sorry, give me that again?
An investor's dollar is worth more than a laborer's hour of labor, a worker's hour of labor.
You may not like to hear this, but depending upon the labor and depending upon the dollar, I'll say yes.
Well, sir, you see, we're not talking abstract. We're not talking material goods. We're talking human beings. And, sir, there are not two cash registers when I go into the 7-Eleven. There is not one that says prices over here for investors, prices over here somewhat less for workers.
Certainly not.
No, sir. So we're talking human beings here, and we're talking not the cost of a commodity. We're talking the cost of living.
No, we are not.
No, sir, we are.
We're talking the cost of labor.
No, sir, we're talking the cost of living, and so long as there is breath in my body, I shall fight for a living wage. I grew up, sir, at a time when cab drivers and floor sweepers and women who went out and emptied trash cans in offices at night could afford homes. I will do everything in my power, which, frankly, between you and me is virtually nothing, but that's beside the point. I will do everything in my power that before the day I die, those people can once again afford homes and afford to send their kids to school. And, sir, as long as this country does not focus in on that, as long as this country does not make that number one priority, then this country, sir, will turn into a socialist society where there are no investors, where it's taken away from you, sir. Because there are a hell of a lot more people in that condition than people who are investors.
I would not have a big problem with that. I don't think communism or socialism in of itself is necessarily bad. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to decide which economic system you're going to choose. If you want to go with free enterprise, then the cost of labor is going to be dictated by supply and demand. I become a little offended myself when I hear about the people in the Rust Belt, in the industrial areas, that can make a lot more money than I do, and I've got a postgraduate degree, and they have invested none of their own dollars.
Well, sir, maybe you have a postgraduate degree, but they're apparently, from talking to you, it's something that you do lack.
I'm sure you're going to tell me what that is.
You're right. Spunk and a backbone. Unbelievable. Well, reverse psychology, I guess, is what we're talking about here. However, as the moments dwindle down to a precious few, one line available. It is in Pinellas County, the number 461-9352, 461-WFLA. Don Richards standing by momentarily at the WFLA news desk. Donald, are you there? Donald is not there. Okay. Guess I could tell you about the Grand Prix car wash. I could do that. Donald is there now. No, I suppose I want to tell him about the Grand Prix car wash now. Hey, everybody wants to know about the Grand Prix car wash. People are hanging around wanting to find out what the special is this week. How many people tuned in to hear Don Richards? Okay, Don Richards at the WFLA news desk.
Tornado watch for West End.
Special is the Supreme. The Supreme, of course, is the regular full-service wash. That's where they vacuum the car, open the door for you, vacuum it inside, and going to say out, they don't really vacuum the outside. And if you really asked, I guess they would. They're pretty decent people at the Grand Prix car wash, and they do try to please. And of course, then run it through the car wash, getting it spick and span clean, although they don't use spick and span on it. They use Turtle products. There are 3 different types of waxes applied in the Supreme. The sealer wax, obviously, to seal in, inhibit rust. The polish wax to provide extra protection for your paint and vinyl, and then the Pro Coat wax, a polymer wax applied at a very high pressure to just put the finishing touches on your car. Of course, don't forget the undercarriage wash and the Armor All. Yeah, inside and out, including the tires. And if you get a Supreme this week at the Grand Prix, your next one will be $3 less. The Supreme itself, if you were to buy all of those services separately, the Supreme itself saves you $8, but the special this week, another $3 off your next Supreme at the Grand Prix Car Wash. 3 locations to serve you in South Tampa, 3622 Gandy Boulevard, in Seminole, 10471 Park Boulevard, and 1880 Gulf to Bay in Clearwater, right across the street from the high school.
Let's go to Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Every group of people in Tampa and every other state in the union has the right to organize.
Well, yes, sir. The theoretical right to organize does exist in the state of Florida. You are quite correct, sir, but it's really difficult to pull it off.
That's correct, and part of it is because of the labor supply in Florida. There are so many people looking for jobs that they're willing to accept jobs for $3.35 an hour.
Yeah, so?
Some of the biggest complaints are from people that left a job for $14 or $15 an hour in a northern state where things aren't quite as nice as they are here in Florida, and they arrive here without a job.
Quite as nice as things are here in Florida? Are you referring to the high crime rates, sir, here? What do you mean, quite as nice? How's Florida nice?
Well, how's Detroit nice? How's Chicago nice? How is Washington, D.C. nice? How is Philadelphia, New York nice?
Well, how's Florida nice, sir? I believe I was the one who asked the question first.
Florida is nice because there is excellent weather.
Mm-hmm.
It is generally cleaner than most northern cities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an inducement to many people.
Well, why then, would I ask you, are only people in the lower rung asked to pay for that inducement and lower wages, and, like managers and management and executives aren't? It's because we have adopted an attitude today in this country, not just in the state of Florida, where there are two different classes. Those who are management and then the rest of the pigs.
Agreed.
Well, that's why we have $3.35 an hour wages, sir, not because we don't have labor unions.
And also because people accept $3.35 an hour jobs. And I agree that you have to have some type of job.
Sure do. But what you have to have is not necessarily a labor union. What you have to have is at least a state government and federal representatives who are a little bit more attuned to the needs of people out there trying to pay their bills than to people trying to speculate.
Certainly. It's agreed. And we continue to elect these people year after year after year, and there are many more labor persons in Florida than there are management people.
Hell of a lot more.
And either they're not voting or they're voting for something they know nothing about.
Why do you suspect that is? How can we change it? What could we possibly do?
I think your program would do a lot to change it, and I think more activism by labor would do a lot to change it. Unfortunately, that doesn't occur.
I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Be good. Now again to Tampa. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob?
You're on, sir.
I've been here waiting for about an hour or so, but nevertheless, I'm trying to get on. I'm first line caller, and I listen to you quite often. Are you talking?
Sir, you just don't have that much time if you want to.
I just couldn't hardly hear you. This year, all these people complaining about low wages here in Florida, they've got nobody to blame but themselves. Reason for it, we had a vote on the right to work law back here a few years ago, and they turned it down.
Oh, really, sir? I've been in the state for 8 years. I don't recall a few years ago any vote on the right to work legislation.
I know. At that time, there was so many crackers here that said they wouldn't work and have to pay for their wages.
How long ago was that, sir?
Pardon?
How long ago was that?
Well, I would say about 20 years ago.
A little more than a few. Thank you ever so much. Thank all of you. We'll do it again tomorrow at 3. Behave yourselves. Would you, Ted Webb and the Huddle coming your way?